The first thing Oliver Kent noticed was the hum, a soft vibrating sound that threaded through his dreams like a melody from a half-forgotten memory. It was faint at first, weaving in and out of the cricket's chorus outside his window. But then it grew louder, steady and insistent, until it dragged him out of sleep like a reluctant fisherman hauling a stubborn catch. He blinked blearily into the darkness of his room, his heart pounding as he tried to remember if he'd left his phone on vibrate, or worse, if something mechanical in his house was about to explode. And that's when he saw her. Standing by the window, bathed in moonlight, was a figure so otherworldly that Oliver briefly considered the possibility he was still dreaming. She was tall and willowy, her limbs elegant and almost too long, as if someone had stretched her on a cosmic drawing board. Her skin had a faint pearlescent glow, and her hair, if you could call it that, shimmered like liquid starlight spilling over her shoulders in waves that didn't quite obey gravity. But it was her eyes that truly pinned him to the spot. They were silver, deep and swirling, as if they contained galaxies unto themselves. For a moment, neither of them moved. Oliver's brain stuttered through possible explanations. A burglar? Number A weirdly themed hallucination? Maybe? An alien? His brain scoffed at the idea, but his gut whispered otherwise. Then she spoke, her voice a soft hum that vibrated in his chest like a perfectly tuned chord. "Can I sleep next to you tonight, human?" Oliver's mouth worked, but no words came out. He sat there in stunned silence, the absurdity of her request colliding with the sheer impossibility of her presence. Finally, he managed to croak out, What?" She tilted her head, a curious gesture that made her look both childlike and ancient at the same time. "Sleep. Rest. You do it, yes? Every night, like clockwork." He blinked. Yeah, I sleep. But not with strangers who materialize in my room uninvited." Her lips curved into what could only be described as a smirk. "Materialize? That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? I walked in, your window wasn't locked." "That doesn't make it better," he sputtered, scrambling to sit up. "And wait, how do you know about locks? Are you casing the place? Is this some weird cosmic burglary?" Her laugh was soft and melodic, like the tinkling of wind chimes. "Burglary? Number, what would I even steal? Your toaster?" Oliver glanced at his battered toaster sitting on the desk next to a pile of textbooks and empty coffee mugs. "Hey, that toaster's vintage. It's got personality." "Ah, yes," she said with mock solemnity. "A toaster with personality. Truly, your species is advanced. Okay, you know what? You're not allowed to break into my room and mock my kitchen appliances." Her smirk softened into something more earnest, and she took a step closer, her glowing presence filling the small room. "I didn't mean to startle you, I just needed somewhere quiet. Your world is quieter than mine." Oliver frowned, still unsure whether this was real or the result of some seriously bad takeout. But there was something in her voice, something fragile and raw that made him hesitate. He took a deep breath, rubbing a hand through his already messy hair. "Look, I don't know who or what you are, but this isn't exactly normal. People don't just show up in other people's bedrooms asking to crash on their beds." "Well," she said, raising a silvery eyebrow, "people don't usually glow either. And yet, here we are." He groaned. "This is not how I expected my night to go." "Nor mine," she said softly. Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "You can call me Leora, by the way. It's close enough to what my name sounds like." "Great," Oliver muttered, lying back down and staring at the ceiling. "I'm Oliver. Welcome to my very normal, very boring life, Leora. Please don't abduct me or blow anything up while you're here." She perched at the edge of his bed, her movements graceful and deliberate, like she was testing the weight of her presence in his space. "Abduction isn't my style, and explosions are messy. Not really my thing." Oliver glanced at her. "Good to know." He paused. "Why me? Why here?" Leora didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked out the window, her silver eyes reflecting the starlight. "Because your world is quiet," she murmured. "And I needed quiet. Just for a little while." The weight in her voice silenced him. For all her teasing and otherworldly strangeness, there was something achingly human in her tone, a kind of loneliness he couldn't quite place. "Fine," he said at last, his voice softer now. "You can stay. Just don't hog the blankets." Her laugh was quiet, almost relieved. "Deal." As the hum of her presence settled into the stillness of the night, Oliver found himself wondering, not for the first time, what on earth or beyond he had just gotten himself into. Oliver woke the next morning to the sound of humming. Not the kind of humming you'd expect from a human. It was layered, otherworldly, like several voices harmonizing at once. He squinted against the sunlight streaming through his window, momentarily disoriented. The events of the previous night rushed back to him, and he groaned, half hoping it had all been some bizarre, stress-induced dream. But then he saw her. Leora stood in his kitchen, staring intently at his toaster, like it held the secrets of the universe. She had one finger pressed to her lips, and the other hand hovering over the lever, clearly trying to puzzle out its purpose. A faint glow radiated from her skin, flickering like a firefly on the verge of dimming. Oliver sat up, his brain still playing catch-up. "You're not seriously having a showdown with my toaster, are you?" She jumped, startled, and turned to him with wide silver eyes. "This device," she said, pointing at it with an accusatory finger, "is either a weapon or a very poorly designed trap." Oliver swung his legs off the bed and rubbed his face, trying to suppress a laugh. "It's a toaster. It toasts things. You put bread in it and it makes it warm and crunchy. That's it. No weapons, no traps, just breakfast." Leora raised an eyebrow. "Warm and crunchy? That's underwhelming for a device that looks like it could vaporize someone." "Well, not every piece of human technology is designed for vaporizing. Some of us enjoy carbs," Oliver said, shuffling over to her and opening the bread box. He pulled out a slice and handed it to her. "Here, watch and learn." She leaned in as he placed the bread into the toaster and pushed down the lever. The glowing coils inside lit up, and her eyes widened with fascination. "It's harnessing fire," she said in awe. Oliver chuckled. "More like electricity, but sure, let's call it fire magic if it makes you feel better." As they waited for the toast to pop up, Oliver couldn't help but notice how out of place she looked in his tiny, cluttered kitchen. Her ethereal presence clashed with the mundane backdrop of dirty dishes and peeling wallpaper. And yet, she seemed oddly at ease, like she'd always belonged there. When the toast finally popped up, Leora flinched, then frowned at the browned slice of bread. She picked it up delicately, inspecting it from every angle. "This is it? Your fire machine turns food into burnt rectangles?" "Hey, don't knock it till you try it," Oliver said, grabbing a jar of peanut butter and a butter knife. He spread a generous layer over the toast and handed it back to her. "Here, this'll make it better." Leora hesitated, sniffing the concoction suspiciously before taking a small bite. Her expression shifted rapidly, from confusion to surprise, to something that almost looked like delight. This is incredible," she said, her voice muffled by the mouthful of toast. "It's salty and sweet, and I didn't know humans could create something so perfect." Oliver smirked, leaning against the counter. "That's peanut butter toast. It's one of humanity's greatest achievements, right up there with space travel and sarcasm." Leora gave him a look that suggested she wasn't entirely sure if he was joking. "If this is what you eat every day, I'm starting to understand why your species is still alive." The light-hearted moment was interrupted by a sudden sharp buzzing sound. Leora froze, her silver eyes darting to the window. The glow around her skin dimmed slightly. "What is it?" Oliver asked, his own stomach tightening at the change in her demeanor. "They're looking for me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can feel the ripple of their signals. They're close." Oliver's pulse quickened. "Who's close? The people you're running from?" Leora nodded, her expression unreadable. "The Watchers, they're not people, not in the way you think. They're constructs, designed to hunt, to enforce, to destroy if necessary." Oliver's head swam with questions, but he forced himself to focus. Okay, so what do we do? Should I call someone, the police maybe? Or the military? No, Leora said quickly, her tone sharp. They wouldn't stand a chance. The Watchers don't negotiate. And if they find me here, they'll assume your world is complicit. They'll cleanse it. Cleanse it? Oliver repeated, his stomach lurching at the implications. They'll burn everything, she said simply. For a moment, the weight of her words hung between them, heavy and suffocating. Then Oliver let out a shaky laugh. Well, great. No pressure or anything. Just your casual Tuesday morning alien apocalypse scenario. Leora tilted her head, her lips twitching into a faint smile. Your humor in the face of annihilation is peculiar. I think I like it. Yeah. Well, I cope by making bad jokes, Oliver said, grabbing his keys from the counter. And right now, I think we should get out of here before your toaster phobia becomes the least of our problems. Leora hesitated, looking around the small, cluttered space as if committing it to memory. Then she straightened, her silver eyes blazing with determination. Lead the way, human. Let's see if your world is as resourceful as your breakfasts. Oliver rolled his eyes but couldn't help grinning. Stick with me, alien girl. You're about to witness the wonders of Earth's greatest invention, my 10-year-old Honda Civic. The Honda Civic was a marvel of human engineering, if by marvel you meant a wheezing relic that sounded like a dying animal when it started. Oliver turned the key in the ignition, and the car emitted a noise that could only be described as a mechanical groan of protest. Leora sat in the passenger seat, her glowing hair brushing the ceiling and her long legs folded awkwardly to fit the cramped space. She glanced around the interior, her silver eyes wide with wonder. This is a vehicle? She asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. Don't sound so impressed, Oliver muttered, as the car finally sputtered to life. He patted the dashboard affectionately. She's old, but she's got character. Leora tilted her head. Character? Is that your way of justifying her inefficiency? Hey, she gets me from point A to point B, usually, Oliver said, pulling out of the driveway. And for your information, not every alien gets chauffeured around in style. You're welcome, by the way. She smirked, the corners of her mouth curving up in a way that made Oliver's stomach flip. Thank you, human. Your primitive transport device is greatly appreciated. Primitive, huh? Oliver shot her a sidelong glance. I'd love to see what your kind drives. Flying saucers? Space Ferraris? Something like that, she said vaguely, her gaze fixed on the passing trees outside the window. Her glow flickered slightly, as if the effort of maintaining her presence was taking its toll. They drove in silence for a while, the tension in the air growing heavier with every mile. Oliver couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, even though the roads were empty. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel and cleared his throat. So, these Watchers, what's their deal? Are they like space cops or something? Leora hesitated, her fingers tracing the edge of the seatbelt as if she were unfamiliar with its purpose. Not cops. They're enforcers, built to maintain order in the galaxy. But their definition of order is absolute. No deviations, no exceptions. And you're the deviation, Oliver said, piecing it together. She nodded. I broke their rules, and they don't forgive rule breakers. Oliver frowned. What kind of rules are we talking about? Did you jaywalk across a hyperspace lane or something? Her laugh was soft, almost bitter. If only it were that simple. I took something. Something they'd rather destroy than let anyone else have. He raised an eyebrow. You stole something? Wow, and here I thought you were just a glowing otherworldly hitchhiker. What did you take? A cosmic toaster? Leora smiled faintly, but didn't answer. Instead, she leaned forward, peering through the windshield. Pull over. What? Why? Oliver asked, glancing around nervously. They're close. I can feel their signals, she said, her voice low and urgent. Oliver's heart skipped a beat, but he did as she said, pulling onto the shoulder of the deserted road. The car idled, its engine ticking softly as they sat in tense silence. Then he saw it, a faint, shimmering distortion in the air, like a heat wave rising off the asphalt. It moved with purpose, shifting and bending the light around it. "Is that—" Oliver started, but Leora cut him off. "Yes," she said, her voice tight. "A Watcher drone. It's scanning for me." Oliver swallowed hard, his palms slick against the steering wheel. "So what do we do? Do we— I don't know. Throw a peanut butter sandwich at it?" Leora shot him a look. "I don't think your culinary skills are going to save us, Oliver." "Hey, don't knock my sandwiches until you've tried them," he said, his attempt at humor falling flat as the drone drew closer. Leora closed her eyes, her glow intensifying as she reached out a hand. A faint hum filled the air, and the dashboard lights flickered. Oliver stared, half in awe and half in terror, as the distortion in the air began to ripple violently. "What are you doing?" he whispered. "Redirecting its signal," she said through gritted teeth. "If I can confuse its sensors, it'll lose our trail." The hum grew louder, resonating through the car. Oliver winced, covering his ears as the distortion shimmered one last time before vanishing with a faint pop. Leora slumped back in her seat, her glow dim and flickering. She looked exhausted, her breathing shallow. "Did it work?" Oliver asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "For now," she said, her eyes fluttering shut. "But they'll send more. They always do." Oliver stared at her, a mix of fear and admiration swirling in his chest. "You're kind of incredible, you know that?" Her lips twitched into a faint smile. "And you're surprisingly good at not panicking, human." "Thanks, I think," he said, turning the car back onto the road. "But next time, maybe warn me before you do your glowy alien magic. My heart can't handle it." Leora chuckled softly, her laughter fading into a comfortable silence as they drove on. For now they were safe, but Oliver couldn't shake the feeling that their reprieve wouldn't last long. As the road stretched ahead, bathed in the soft orange glow of dusk, Oliver couldn't shake the weight pressing on his chest. The air felt charged, thick with the promise of something inevitable. In the passenger seat, Leora sat in contemplative silence, her silver eyes dimmer than usual. For hours, they had driven in circles, weaving through back roads and avoiding major highways. The Watchers had been relentless, their shimmering drones flickering in and out of view, always just a step behind. Oliver's trusty old Civic, faithful as it was, could only buy them so much time. "So," Oliver said, breaking the silence, "do you have a grand plan? Some kind of alien deus ex machina that's going to save the day? Or are we just going to keep playing intergalactic hide-and-seek until the Civic collapses in protest?" Leora's lips curved into a tired smile. "There is a plan," she said softly, "but it's risky." "Risky how?" She hesitated, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on her armrest. "The Watchers aren't invincible. They operate on a network, a singular hub that controls their movements. If I can disrupt that hub, I can force them to retreat. But to do that, I need to amplify my energy." Oliver frowned. "Okay, sounds doable. What's the catch?" "The amplification would burn out my form," she said, her voice barely audible. "I wouldn't survive it." Oliver slammed the brakes, bringing the car to an abrupt halt on the deserted road. "What?" he demanded, turning to face her. "That's not a plan, that's suicide." "It's the only way," Leora said calmly, though her glow flickered with unspoken fear. "If I don't stop them, they'll find me. And when they do, they'll destroy everything in their path, including this planet." Oliver's mind raced, his thoughts a chaotic blur. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Number. There has to be another way. What about, I don't know, hacking their network? Distracting them with toast? Something? Leora's laugh was soft, but genuine. "You and your toast," she said, shaking her head. "You're not going to talk me out of this, Oliver. This is my responsibility." He opened his mouth to argue, but the sky above them suddenly lit up with a blinding, unnatural glow. A low hum vibrated through the air, growing louder and more oppressive with every second. They're here, Leora said, her voice steady but somber. It's time. No, Oliver said firmly, his heart pounding in his chest. You don't get to pull the noble sacrifice card, okay? You showed up in my room, ate my peanut butter toast, and dragged me into your cosmic drama. I didn't sign up to watch you get yourself killed. Leora turned to him, her gaze softening. Oliver, you don't understand. I chose your room because I sensed something in you. Kindness, resilience. I needed someone who wouldn't abandon me even when things got difficult, and you didn't. You stayed. You helped. That's more than I could have ever hoped for. Great. Awesome. Glad I passed the vibe check, Oliver said, his voice cracking. Now let's find a way to fix this that doesn't involve you turning into space dust. For a moment, Leora stared at him, something unreadable flickering in her eyes. Then, as if making a decision, she placed her hand on his. There might be another way, she said, but it will require both of us. Both of us? What do you mean? Our energies can combine, she explained. Your human life force is untapped, raw. If I channel it, I might be able to disable the Watchers without destroying myself. Oliver's stomach dropped. And what happens to me? You'll survive, she assured him. But it will take everything you have. You'll feel empty, at least for a while. He didn't even hesitate. Do it. Oliver. Do it, he repeated. I'm not losing you, Leora. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she nodded. Okay, she whispered. Hold on to me. He reached for her hands, her skin cool and electric against his own. The hum in the air grew deafening as her glow intensified, enveloping them in a blinding silver light. Oliver felt a surge of energy rush through him, searing, overwhelming, but oddly exhilarating. The Watcher drones descended, their shimmering forms converging around the car. But before they could strike, Leora unleashed a pulse of energy so powerful that the air itself seemed to shatter. The drones froze mid-air, their forms flickering violently, before disintegrating into nothingness. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The light faded, leaving Oliver slumped in the driver's seat, his body heavy and trembling. Leora sat beside him, her glow dim but steady. She looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and awe. You did it, she said softly. No, Oliver rasped, his voice hoarse. We did it. For the first time, Leora smiled, a genuine radiant smile that lit up her entire face. As the first stars began to appear in the night sky, Oliver started the car and pulled back onto the road. The danger was gone, but their journey wasn't over. So, he said, breaking the silence. What's next? Intergalactic road trip? Alien witness protection program? Leora chuckled, her laughter soft and melodic. Let's just see where the road takes us, human. And with that, they drove into the night, two unlikely companions bound by an extraordinary journey and a future full of infinite possibilities.